word publicly about the death of Michael Brown. But now I'm going to let you in on a secret. Some high-profile news anchors have met Wilson. They've talked with him one-on-one in secret locations, entirely off the record, all in the hopes of landing his very first television interview. Now, because it was off the record, those anchors can't talk about the meetings, and their networks can't really even confirm that the meetings happened. But here are the anchor names that I know, according to my sources, with the caveat that others may have also met with Wilson. NBC's Matt Lauer has met with him. So is ABC's George Stephanopoulos, CBS's Scott Pelley, and both the primetime anchors here at CNN, Anderson Cooper and Don Lemon. Again, maybe other anchors as well. I have a feeling some anchor at Fox. I just don't know the name, but that's what my sources are telling me. So this pursuit of an interview, it's always a high-stakes game. The media plays it in every big legal or criminal case. And Jim Moret, the chief correspondent for Inside Edition, has been personally involved in these similar behind-the-scenes efforts. So he joins me now from Los Angeles to shine a light on how it works. Jim, you were actually the winner in one of these big booking contests. I know it sounds weird to describe it that way, but that's how it is talked about in TV. So tell me about how it works.
Okay, well, the example you're talking about is some time ago, but it was a big interview for us. George Michael had been arrested in Los Angeles for exposing himself in a men's room in Beverly Hills. And following that, everybody wanted to talk to him. Now, I know that Maria Shriver over at Dateline at the time was very close to, if not locking him up, actually locking him up and booking him for a Monday or Tuesday show. We, on Friday, had made arrangements to go live to tape and broadcast Friday night, and it would be international then Saturday morning over in England. And that was really the pivotal point for George Michael, because we didn't realize it at the time, but on Sunday, that Sunday, the tabloids were going to out him as gay. He knew about it. We didn't know about that, but he chose us because our venue, our network, CNN, I was with at the time, was able to trump those British tabloids. So it's really a couple of things. Look, the anchor names that you mentioned, think about the heady experience for an individual who's approached by Matt Lauer, by say, Anderson Cooper wants to talk to you. You know, and the currency that they have, and the only currency I would offer is, does somebody like me? Does somebody trust me? You want to give them the opportunity to make their case. Doesn't mean you won't ask tough questions.
It's about establishing comfort with the possible interviewer, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And look, if Anderson called me, I know Anderson from TV. I've met him. I like him. I trust him. Trust is his currency, really. Now, but you have really a couple of things to consider. Is the network live? Is it a taped show? Fast forward to last year. Sydney Leathers was in that controversial texting or sexting with Anthony Weiner when he was going to run for New York mayor. She didn't feel comfortable going live at that time. We got her because we were taped. I spoke with her. You know, it's interesting. When you talk about being first, it's not just the viewers that you get for the interview, it's the publicity that you get after. And with this fractured environment where networks get 500,000, 1 million, 2 million views instead of 10 and 20, if Anderson Cooper gets an interview, if Wolf Blitzer gets one, if we at Inside Edition get an interview, the real value also, in addition to people watching our show then, is other networks rebroadcasting with our little bug on, so that promotes the show. And that's really a value too.
You know, this is a little awkward for me to ask, because I'm talking about a couple of my colleagues as well as several other network anchors, but do you think it affects the coverage at all? You know, if you sit down with someone off the record, you can't talk about what they're like, you can't talk about what you might have learned from them, but might it in some subconscious way affect the coverage?
I don't think so. I think we're all professionals. Look, I'm a lawyer as well, and you know, sometimes you may like a client, but you may not like what they've done. You got to defend them. You've got to ask tough questions. I never make any deals not to ask questions. My goal is to be respectful so that when they leave, even if it's a tough interview, they feel like they've gotten a fair shot.
And speaking of those deals, Jim, I got to ask about the financial relationship sometimes. You know, with someone like Darren Wilson, it doesn't seem to be as likely. But is it, you know, in some of these cases, aren't there pictures licensed or something like that so that the interview subject gets some sort of financial reward out of it?
All of the networks, most of the networks, for example, the Today Show will fly somebody in, put them up in a hotel. But look, it's not like a bargain where you say, we'll send you to some Broadway shows, give you a fun time. It's not like that. You do license photos in many cases. you're not talking about a lot of money. You're also not buying their statements. You don't want to influence what they say based upon licensing a photo, and I don't think any news organization or any program really wants to do that.
Where do you think Darren Wilson will ultimately end up going when it comes to these television interviews? If he ever speaks, by the way, we shouldn't assume he will. George Zimmerman, after the Trayvon Martin case, after the trial ended, he spoke to Sean Hannity at Fox News and then a number of other interviewers.
Well, I think in that case, George Zimmerman went to a network he felt would be favorable toward him. Whether they were or not, I couldn't say. But, NBC was critical of George Zimmerman, and there was a controversial report that they had issued on whether or not they had actually doctored a tape that was shown on TV. So
right.
I think the perception of the network, the perception of the venue,